welcome back. This is your host, Barry Waxler, here with my co-hosts, Andrea Kay and Al Arias. And our final guest of the day is Mr. John Vallas from Swell Coffee Company. Welcome, John.
Morning, Barry. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, tell us a little bit about Swell Coffee. What do you do, and how do you do it?
Well, we started with a cafe in Mission Beach, and right here in San Diego, California. And what we're doing now is we're working with a local roaster and developing custom coffee blends, and also bringing in single origin certified coffees to San Diego, California.
So, okay, I'm going to just lead right in from our conversation before. Coffee is almost like wine. It depends on where you get the beans, how you get the beans, and you told us a great story about the size of the beans and what have you beforehand. So tell us how coffee can be kind of like the wineries out there, a little bit different on every one you go to.
Right. Well, most people start drinking coffee the way that I did, which is, just going to the coffee shop or going somewhere and having a cup of coffee or making coffee at home, which is the way most coffee here in America is consumed. And it started from there, and this idea that it could be more, and I started experimenting with trying different coffees, and from that grew a passion for understanding where coffee comes from. And in that, there's a whole story where the coffee trees are cultivated in countries that are all over the world within the equatorial belt. And then the coffee is usually hand-picked. It comes in a cherry, and there's two of those coffee beans are actually cherry pits. They get hand-picked, they get hand-washed and processed, then they get hand-sorted to have a uniform size to remove defects. And what happens with the type of coffee that we serve at our cafe and through our customers that purchase wholesale coffee from us, they get a very high quality specialty coffee that has passed through a lot of people's hands. They hand sort the coffee beans to be a uniform size so that during the roasting process you can create an even roast and cook those beans evenly, and then have a uniform and quality cup of coffee, and there's no inconsistency between taste. Coffee is very interesting, especially espresso. So when we pull a shot of espresso, we're actually putting the equivalent of a 135-pound person, so 135 pounds of pressure through a small little puck of coffee that's been packed down by hand, and we put that much pressure through, and so any defect in that coffee is amplified. Anything that the barista does to serve your cup of coffee is amplified. And so what we started out with was a cafe in Mission Beach, and working and learning and trying to figure out how to make a really great cup of coffee. And what's come out of that has been this journey and these partnerships that we've created to help us get to the farmer, and then find that quality coffee and bring it back to the United States with the story of where that coffee came from.
You don't really hear farm to table in terms of coffee. I mean, usually we're hearing farm to table in terms of restaurants and, going out to the local, growers and, who's got good veggies or strawberries in San Diego. You don't hear about this in terms of coffee.
That's what's so
interesting. You have my attention.
Well, that's what's so interesting and why we have such an opportunity here. There are coffee destinations in the United States that are telling these stories. And when you think about, specialty coffee, some places like Seattle and San Francisco might come to mind, or Portland even. And what we're on the forefront of doing with my partner Gina and the Patio Restaurant Group and all the people that are involved with us and helping us do this is we're going to put San Diego on the map and help tell that story through what we call not farm to table but farm to cup, or seed to cup. And then there's also another model that's in the coffee world, and that's where we go and negotiate directly with the farmers. We make an exchange, of American dollars, which is my dream, to bring American dollars to these farms around the world in these places that have no roads, they have no running water, they don't even have shoes.
Now, you've already started the travels to go identify some of these farms that you're working with, haven't you?
I haven't personally been down there just yet. I have been to a couple of coffee farms, but right now what we've been doing is negotiating with farmers in Honduras and in Peru. And for instance, in Peru, just a quick story about that. To get the coffee from the farm in Peru, which we got some samples, but to get the coffee bags that were, these sacks, they're 150 pounds a piece. They put the sacks, we're talking in today's time, they put these coffee sacks on the back of llamas to get down the hill. There's no roads from these farms.
Wow.
On the backs of llamas down the hill to a truck that then takes it to the port in Lima so that we can get it here in the United States. And it's extremely challenging logistically for us sitting here in San Diego to get coffee from a farm up in the jungle in Peru.
So you're going to be investing, that's what you mean by taking American dollars. You want to invest down there to help speed up that, make that process more efficient and productive.
Exactly. And then also provide them with some, that money that will allow them to take care of their families. It'll allow them to get running water to their farms and then we will also, with that American money, we will also be able to activate them and help support them in actually creating a better crop, which then comes back to us as a better crop in a higher quality cup of coffee, and then we can charge more money. So in that model, everybody wins.
Yeah. So if you're taking applications for anybody to be a scout, like internationally for you, or to be a coffee taster, let me know.
Okay, now Andrea, let's back off, okay? Because we're gonna we've been talking forever about taking the show on the road.
Oh,
so
that's
what we're going to do.
Oh,
okay, we'll
awesome.
Machu Picchu, here
we go.
Nice.
With Spicoli the tax man with us.
We're just having too much fun here. So your goal with the on the local market is you're going to be taking the coffees through the chain of the patio and the front porch, correct?
Right. So right now, our coffee, we created custom coffee blends for both of the patio restaurants in Mission Hills and in Pacific Beach. And then we also created a custom blend that's for sale in the retail shop, which is another partner of ours called the Front Porch, also in Mission Hills. And then in Swell Cafe, as we continue to expand our cafe and the locations that we have, right now we're working with a local roaster, and then we're also in the process of beginning our own coffee roasting in-house. We're going to be expanding to a production facility where we can roast coffee to scale, and then allow us to expand other patio restaurants, other Swell cafes, and then also create custom blends and private labels for restaurants and other cafes that like to carry really high quality coffee.
So you want to replicate the Swell Cafe, is what I hear.
Exactly. That's more of a retail outlet that we want to be able to demonstrate what the coffee is about and tell the story directly to people who want to experience the coffee and then just hang out with us.
Wow.
I love this. San Diego is becoming known as the biotech industry is here. We've got microbreweries, and now thanks to Swell, we're going to be like the hot place for coffee roasting.
Coffee, beer, and of course we have to start blowing up on the brownies too.
Well, we've got some great local bakeries and chocolatiers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we do work with other local vendors, and we have their pastries and their confections featured in our cafe. So we work with we work with a small company called the Secret Cookie Service. They are a really interesting young entrepreneurial company that came out of UCSD. We work with a bakery called Bagatelli, and they only do wholesale bakery right now. The coffee roaster that we're working with is called James Coffee Company. They're a startup here in San Diego, and they've helped us along a lot of the way. And we've mentored and worked with a lot of different small businesses here in San Diego. And then, of course, my big partnership and what's really helping us to grow has been with the Patio Restaurant Group and American National Investments.
Great.
Which is talk about such a great contribution to San Diego. Just her breakfast flatbread alone with the bacon and the gravy. I mean, hello.
On San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego businesses. And I'm here with, this is your host, Barry Waxler. I'm here with my co-host, Andrea Kay and Al Arias. And our guest is John Vallas from Swell Coffee Company. So,
how'd you get into this? You're a young guy.
Well,
what's your background?
So I was in the Navy. I originally was on a submarine doing electronics communications, became a diver,
drank some bad coffee, did you, on the submarines?
I definitely did. I was the guy who had my own coffee stash underneath my rack. My wife and I both got transferred out to Millington, Tennessee, and I was actually off of active duty. We had started a street fair concessions business. I've actually won first place in 2 business plan competitions. Great. So my first foray into the business world was in the food business, and we had a street fair concessions doing hot dogs and nachos over at the street fairs here in San Diego. We moved away. My wife got transferred, so I went back on active duty. On the way back, I'd finished up my recall, and I started doing interviews with Department of Defense and other contractors and trying to figure out what I was going to do next in life. I had no plan. And in that job search, I ran across a piece of paper that had a list. I had written this some time ago. It was a list of everything that I was passionate about. And on that list was spending time with my family, being by the ocean, surfing, good food, good coffee, hanging out with my friends. I mean, it's just the list of everything I loved.
You forgot the pet-friendly part to go with everything.
Yeah.
You're right. I do love dogs. My daughter loves dogs way more than I do. But this list, I just remember the moment looking at this list and saying, you know what? Forget the money. And what if I could just do this, something that I love doing, and I could be happy, and the money will follow? And what manifested out of that was this. I started looking for businesses for sale. Then I started looking for restaurants for sale. I started looking by the beach, and I ran across this cafe that was for sale. It was a failed business, and it was by the beach, and all the red flags were there saying, don't do this. And I just could not get away from it, and something spoke to me about this location. And here I am 3 years later. I get to drink as much coffee as I want, and it's really amazing coffee, and I get to hang out with my friends who also I work with them, and I get to be by the beach and go cut out for a surf whenever I want and come back and have some more great coffee and really fresh food. And my family gets to come down and experience and really share in the moment. And we've just created a really great community down there in Mission Beach. So
you got a swell life, pun intended.
It is swell.
Yeah, but it's so funny you should mention that about putting it out there, about focusing on what you love, because isn't that kind of what Melissa from the front porch was saying about her journey and how she ended up in starting the front porch was also that same thing. What was she passionate about? What were her goals? What was she going to love to do?
They're Alliance members.
Pardon me?
They're Alliance members. They're all together.
Yeah, and now we all get to play on the same team and support each other.
Great.
Fantastic.
Great.
Love it.
We are running short on time, so let's tell our listeners, how do they find you? How do they find Swell Coffee Company? How do they find you online? Tell us all about that.
Okay, so our website is theswellcafe.com, but I can tell you that's got our menu and it's got some cool pictures, but you can connect with us directly on Instagram and on Facebook, and it's, any one of those, and our username is The Swell Cafe, so you get to see what we're doing, you get to see our specials, you get to see videos, and that's the best way to connect with us.
This has been a pleasure. We've had a great show today.
Yeah.
So, it's always a great show standing there sitting next to Andrea Kay.
Thank you.
You are listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KFSD AM 1450 and financialnewsandtalk.com. We appreciate you being with us, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. So all I can say is stay awesome, San Diego. We'll see you next week.